Hello everyone, today I'm going to create a site model from a base map which we take from municipalities. And here we see a map. Base maps includes lots of information that we don't need in architectural site model. So let's look it closer. And here we can see our elevation points. These are elevation points. These are important for us. We can see the building borders. This is important for drawing our buildings. These are buildings, our buildings borders, and they have got Z values. In here, we can see their Z values, so they are three-dimensional, as we can see in here. Also, we have got their floor numbers: 1, 2, 4, 3, 5, 2, 2, 1. By the way, this is the base map of Barbaros neighborhood in Batı Ataşehir. It's a slum area. Because of that, the building levels are that kind of low. So first, I draw a frame in here, and I copied my elevation point with this frame. After that, I copied my building borders with their floor numbers. These are three-dimensional building borders. Let's export this to Rhino. Okay, now in Rhino we have got 3D points and 3D building borders. Let's open Grasshopper. Okay, now first I need to create a surface for my terrain. So I use patch command in here. Okay, I need this point as an input. As we can see, there's a point parameter in here. So I use point containers on point. I'm going to set multiple points. I'm going to choose all of these points. Okay, now my points are on Grasshopper. Let's put these points as an input to this point parameter, and we can see our surface came. Let's look what we have got now. A one untrimmed surface. As we can see, we have got this unnecessary part, so we need to trim that. So I'm going to use curve container, that one curve. Okay, now if we put this that, we can see it. We have got now one trimmed surface, but as we can look in perspective view, it fits these corners to that 2D curve that we don't want. So I'm going to disconnect this. I need this three-dimensional elevation from this corner. So I need to make this three-dimensional. In here, I'm going to bake this, and I go to manually. Okay, now I'm going to select this surface, and I use section command in Rhino. Take sections from corners of the surface. Okay, now I'm going to select these curves as a cutting object and trim this unnecessary part that I don't want. Now I'm going to trim command again. Time choose this surface and this surface curve. I'm sorry. I'm going to trim this part. Okay. Now I'm going to delete this baked surface. I don't need it anymore. So now I have got 4 curves. Now I'm going to join them and set one curve. Okay. Now I'm going to use again another curve container. Set one curve. I'm going to set this curve. Now this 3D curve is on Grasshopper. I put this curve, this curve. Now I have got one trimmed surface that I actually want. Okay, now I use contour command to create my contours. As we can see, there's a shape. This is our shape. Point, one locally defined value 0, 0, 0. Okay, point, start point. As we can look at the elevation, this can be our start point. We can add a point and group this point parameter to start, but default value is start from 0, so we don't need to add that kind of thing. In here we see direction. It says 0, 0, 1. That means the Z direction. So if we actually do something like 0, 1, 0, it creates contours in Y direction, but we don't need this. We need this Z direction, so we don't put any input to this. Distance, the distance between contours, this is important. In here I use number slider. In this number slider I take minimum 1, maximum 10 is okay for me. Now we can see 5 meter contours. I put this distance to here. Let's look at front view, top view. We can see our contour line, but there is a missing contours. As we can see, it trimmed some contours. So we disconnect this. We can see these curves are gone. I think if we do this too, we can see it more easily. In here, as we can see our real contour line, but when I put this curve, these contour lines are missing. So in here, I'm going to do something like this. I copy this one once more time. Now I have got in here the trimmed surface that I want. So, and swap contour lines, I'm going to unpreview contours. Okay, now I'm going to place this curve input in here. Now we can see our real contours, and now I don't see this patch 2 times, so I'm going to unpreview this, and our contours are real contours. So now I'm going to use trim component here, trim with region, to trim these extra curves that I don't want. So in here, so curved trim, I'm going to trim my contours, and I select this beginning frame, as we can see in here, as a region. Okay, now we have got two outputs, one inside and one outside. Inside means the inside curves, outside means the outside curves. Let's look at them. I'm going to use curve component here. If we look at inside, we can see that the inside curves are selected. Okay, let's disconnect them and look at the outside curve. And here we can see these outside curves, but I don't need them, these outside curves. I need these inside curves. So I'm going to unpreview this and I'm going to unpreview this. Okay, now I have got my surface with my contour line. Now let's go to our buildings. We have got three-dimensional buildings. I manually give these buildings take these buildings in different layers. For one-story buildings, I put them in that layer. For two-story buildings, I put them in that layer. For three, that layer. For four, that layer. 5, 4, that layer. 6, that layer. So if we see like this, I close the layers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As we can see, all of these are in different layers. Let's open them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To their number. I do this part manually. Let's go to Grasshopper to extrude them. First, we need these curves in Grasshopper, so I again use curve component in here 6 times for every height. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's close. Let's go to first floor. Let's close the others. Let's come to this part. Okay, now I'm going to select all my curves. I'm going to Grasshopper. I get that multiple curves in here. Now they are on Grasshopper. Okay, now go to second one and close the first. I'm going to select all. Let's go to Grasshopper. I'm going to come here and set multiple curves. Now they are on Grasshopper. Close. Come to Grasshopper. Set multiple curves. Now they are on Grasshopper. Close. Select. Set multiple curves. Now they are on Grasshopper. Close. Select. Now they are on Grasshopper. Go here. Select. Okay. Now I don't need them anymore, so I hide them. Let's go to Grasshopper. So I have got all these buildings according to their floor numbers. So I need to extrude them. So I use extrude. So I use extrude component in here. So we have got base and direction. Okay, now we have got all these points. So okay, then I don't want to extrude them one by one, so I'm going to use end line component to take all of this and once. Let's put all this add 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 this component. Okay, now as we can see that 0 to 0 includes all these one level height buildings. Yet in here we can see 77 locally defined values, 77 closed curves. So in here we can see here we can see 6 to 76, 77 curves. So the second group, as we can see in here, it takes 59, 0 to 58. We must see 0 to 58. Okay, now in here we can see this 47. We need to see 0 to 46. In here, it's grouped that I want. So in here, okay, let's translate this. In here, this is our base. So we also need a direction. Our direction is Z direction. We need to extrude in Z direction. So I'm going to use unit Z. As we can see, there's a factor, the extrude value. So now it's 1. I'm going to take 5 meters for each. Sorry. So this should be extruded by 5. This should be extruded by 10. This should be extruded by 15. This should be extruded by 20. This should be extruded by 25. And this should be extruded by 30. So I need multiple points to extrude this curve. So I use number container. So if I look at empty number parameter, I'm going to set multiple numbers, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 6 different values. Commit change. Now, as we can see, as an output, we have got now 6 different values. Okay, now I need this part take this 5 input. I need this part take this 10 input. I need this part take this 10 input. So now if we do it like that, extrude 1 by connect this to this, it extrudes that. Not really correct. If you look at this, this is 1 and this is 3, but they are in the same height. So now I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to say draft. So now this 0 to 0 group takes this match with this 0 in this 0. This 0 to 1 takes this 10. This 0 to 2 take this 15. And as we can see in here, this ones are extruded 5 meters. These 2 are extruded 10 meters. These 3 are extruded 10 meters. These 4 numbers are extruded 20 meters. So our buildings are now okay. So as we can look in here, open brackets, as you can see, 0, open bracket, 1, open brackets. They take the correct input here. So we need to cap them. So I'm going to use cap command. Now, as we can see, our buildings are ready. Okay. What? Alright. Okay. Now, let's take it and move it to that place. So I'm going to bake this building. Okay. Now my buildings are ready. I'm going to select all these buildings. Use move command from this point to that point. Okay, now let's also make our topography. In here, we have got our path. I'm going to do that kind of thing. So now we have got our topography, so we don't need to see this anymore. And also, I don't want to see this point. So on preview, okay, let's save view. Now we have got a curve in here, I guess. Where is the curve? Go to wireframe. Okay, save it. Then we need our contour lines. So we have got our contour lines here. Before I get them, let's close this part. Okay. Okay, now we can take our contours. So I'm going to bake them. Okay. Now our site model is ready. There is some space in here. You can manually correct them. But approximately it looks correct. There are some mistakes in this store buildings. Let's look at in different views. Let's take to FP clean. Now C2 height. As we can see, it's mostly correct. Now we can check our topography lines in here. Take FP clean. 115 wireframe. As we can see, we have got this topography lines. Let's check them in the AutoCAD file with the AutoCAD file. As we can see, these are symmetric contour lines. Mostly it looks correct. Let's look 5 meters. Let's go back to the perspective view. Let's look at from different modes. As we can see, we have got now contour lines and our buildings. Our topography is correct. Thank you for listening.